Hot for TV.
So, welcome back to the second episode, the slightly delayed second episode of Doctor Who Too Hot for TV, the podcast that looks at Doctor Who spin-offs, Doctor Who Extended Universe. I am your host, Dylan, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm still Jack.
You're still Jack. Well, what's happened since we last met?
Well, there was a few minor delays to the second episode because there was a global pandemic.
That's right. Jeffrey Palmer stepped out of Marylebone Station and spread a deadly Silurian virus throughout England, and we're all locked up.
Yeah, Dylan's been incapacitated.
Yes, I've had Lazar's disease, and I've been crawling around in my underwear in some air ducts for the last 4 weeks. And Jack, who is my brother and co-host, who doesn't normally live with me, is staying with me at the moment, and he's been my garm looking after me.
Dylan has had every plague imaginable from Doctor Who in terms of symptoms, signs, delirium, peeling, oozing, general wobbling about a bit.
I look like Omega at the end of Arc of Infinity with sort of Rice Krispies and green stuff on my face. But I'm pretty much fully recovered now, which is great news.
Yes.
And we're back here to record a podcast at the end of the world. Doctor Who-wise, a fair amount's happened.
Yeah.
There was a brand new series of Doctor Who on. We won't talk about it too much because every podcast talks about it, but what did you think of Series 12 of Doctor Who?
I liked it. It was the last good thing I remember before everything fell apart.
After a series of just kind of being very chilled, they just threw everything at it. It was kind of like a greatest hits of the new series, but I really, really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't seem to, but I went with it all. The Timeless Child, the Morbius Doctors, the 92 children that were Doctor Who.
I mean, the main thing that's changed is that we set full Fathom 5 as one of the stories to look at in this episode. And before the series went out, this was just a spin-off. And now it's legitimate canon. Because every Doctor ever is now canon after The Timeless Child.
Yeah, even David Banks, when he took over for that one night on the Ultimate Adventure Tour when Pertwee passed out.
Yeah, Lenny Henry in the comic relief sketch in the 80s.
David Burton, the guy who claimed to record that pilot, absolutely canon.
Sylvester McCoy in that episode of Doctors, where he plays that washed-up children's presenter. He is the Doctor.
Everybody's canon now. So that's happened. What's the other Doctor Who content while the world's ended?
The Macra Terror.
The Macra Terror.
Animated.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
That was good, yeah.
Bit late to the party there.
Yeah, I catch up. We're reviewing things that are 15 years old, so I'm late. Never mind.
Then you saw the documentary on John Nathan Turner's life.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I thought it was a good message to say that for creative people from Birmingham, don't leave Birmingham because you'll only be disappointed.
As to semi-creative people from Birmingham, we take that message on the nose. And I've realised that my entire life has been following the same path as John Nathan Turner's, in that I started out as an assistant floor manager, then floor manager, and now I'm a producer. And I also wear a lot of loud shirts, so I'm just hoping my life doesn't end as horribly as his. Seen any Mythmakers?
No?
Eric Roberts?
Oh, yes, yeah. No, the best thing that I've seen has been Eric Roberts and his wife / twin being interviewed for Mythmakers on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, if you get a chance to go on Amazon Prime, all the Doctors and the villains sort of Mythmakers tapes have been edited down into sort of an hour long. I think this one was originally an hour and a half. And this is a fairly new interview. My God, is it an interesting watch. It's a bit like, you know, in the Fast Show, there's that couple where the woman will ask her husband a question and then answer it for him.
Yeah.
That's basically Eric Roberts and his wife, because the wife interviews Eric, and it makes for some very awkward viewing.
It's the best thing that I've seen in recent years, as in this and the Bros documentary are quite close in terms of they set out thinking they were making one thing and it turned into an entirely different thing. I genuinely think that Eric Roberts has been held hostage by his wife, and there's not a single thing that he says that has not been scripted by her.
I completely agree. So if you've got Amazon Prime, by the way, that's free. So you can go and watch that, and I strongly advise it. So today we're going to be looking at an audio adventure from Big Finish called Full Fathom 5. Now this is part of their Unbound range, where they basically recast the Doctors, and it was a whole sort of what-if scenario, playing out things that wouldn't necessarily happen in the main show. So I'll just set the scene a little bit. This was released in July 2003, and this is kind of the deadest Doctor Who will ever be in terms of the public eye, and probably like in terms of actually having a fan base. It's probably a committed few thousand people. At the time, the Eighth Doctor was being relegated to an alternative universe as the cast details for the new series of McGann audios were released, including new companion Keras, while the main range from Big Finish saw Doctor Who and the Pirates released, the musical episode, which was a lot of fun. They sort of unveiled plans for the 40th anniversary, which basically was a handful of VHS releases and DVD releases, as well as announcing there'd be another Panopticon convention, which we attended and was largely terrible from what's remembered. BBV were slowing down their sort of range with the last few Faction Paradox CDs, and the VHS range was limping towards the end, having just released The Horns of Nimon. BBC Books released Reckless Engineering by Nick Walters in its Eighth Doctor range. Know anything about that?
It's about Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunei.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I was not expecting you to say that. I'd never even heard of it.
Do you know why? Because I remember the cover.
Ah, there we go. So, what do you remember about... You were, what, 13 at this time?
Yeah.
And we're probably only a couple of months away from the new series being announced.
Yeah.
But, in terms of what Doctor Who fans thought was going on, fuck all. It was really, really dead. So, what can you remember about this time?
Well, the most interesting thing that was going on was the McGann audios. Yeah. And that they'd had Zagreus, hadn't they?
Yes, Zagreus had happened, and they were off to the alternative universe.
And that was huge. That was I really, really liked it at the time.
Really?
For me,
everybody hated it.
I didn't know this because I wasn't going on to internet forums to listen to angry middle-aged men.
That still goes on.
So I thought that was amazing, and that was really, really big and epic, and that was the closest thing to like a live anniversary that I'd had, because before that, you know, I'd seen all of the old anniversary stories, like the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, and I thought, well, these are kind of good, but I never saw it as a celebratory event thing because it was all in the past. Whereas Zagreus, I thought was just amazing. It really, really felt big, and the new universe thing was like great. That is interesting to me. So for me, it was just all I considered with the future of Doctor Who was Paul McGann on a Big Finish and in the books and in comics. That was what Doctor Who was.
And those Paul McGann audios, like, they did a really good job of kind of differentiating them from the main range. Like, the main range was very much, this slots in here, it's not the gargantuan thing that of a clusterfuck of a canon that Big Finish is now. It just felt like, oh, you could slot that in there, you could slot that in there, whereas the Eighth Doctor, they made really sure that it was a continuing series that you could follow, and they had character arcs, they had plot arcs, and like they delivered some amazing stories at that time. And the Divergent Universe stuff was something that there's some really interesting stories in there, but then they kind of cut it off really quickly because the new series was coming back, and I think Gary Russell, who was running Big Finish at the time, said, oh, I really want to just make sure that everything's accessible and not have any ongoing story arcs, which kind of makes sense. But we are here to talk about Full Fathom 5, part of the Unbound range. So I'll give a quick... By the way, all this stuff's really old, so we're doing spoilers for the plots. If you haven't read it, listened to it, watched it, whatever it is, we're going to spoil the fuck out of it. So if you haven't heard it, turn off now, go listen to it, and then come back. The what if for this story is, what if the Doctor believed the ends justified the means? The story jumps around between 2 time zones, one where the Doctor and his companion Ruth are heading down to a sea base called Deep, which stands for Deep Sea Energy Exploration Project, and one some 27 years earlier, where Eric Vollmer is on the deep researching into new sources of energies, like all good Earth scientists in 70s Doctor Who do. He's working under General Flint, who is your classic army general from Doctor Who. Vollmer discovers the military are hiding a Nazi scientist who is conducting unethical experiments, splicing human and marine life together, like all bad Earth scientists do in 70s Doctor Who. The Doctor shows up to stop the experiments, but can't, so he kills a couple of people with dubious morals, shoots the mutating Vollmer, but can't get his TARDIS back as the mutating Flint threatens to destroy the base, and so the Doctor has to leave in a sub, believing the base and the TARDIS to be destroyed. The Doctor, later on, has been looking after Ruth for 27 years, his companion, ever since her father died down in the deep. She hides on a sub with the Doctor, who goes back down to the deep after the Doctor discovers it wasn't destroyed. She thinks the Doctor wants to find out what happened there, but actually it's because he has learned the military are going to excavate and then destroy the data from the site, destroying his TARDIS. Ruth finds out about the truth about her father, who'd become a scapegoat for the disaster, but he was actually innocent and that the Doctor knew the truth all the time. A mutated Flint, who'd survived, kills the Doctor and he regenerates, and as soon as he does so, Ruth shoots him again, vowing to kill all his regenerations. So what did you think?
Well, first of all, John Pertwee's probably very happy that he didn't get this script because it'd be really hard for him to pronounce it. You mentioned in the synopsis that the premise is what if the ends justified the means, but the actual blurb says, "What if I told you the truth, I'd have to kill you," which is quite a mysterious tagline. So you don't quite know going in what it's actually about. So of all of the Unbound stories, it's got the most ambivalent premise.
Yeah.
Because each one is a what-if story. So what if the Doctor never left Gallifrey? What if he was a woman?
Which would never happen. Never happen in a million years.
And so for this one, it's actually kept a secret. And so you listen to it, and it's only until maybe like 15, 20 minutes before the end that you realise, oh, what if the Doctor was just a complete prick and he didn't really care how things got done? And he's kind of like a James Bond figure that would just go in and shoot people if necessary or get them blown up. Yeah, and so it's kind of like a one-trick story in that it's just, you go in and think, oh, it's just a Doctor Who story. And also David Collins is very convincing just because from the prototype of the Doctor being this kind of RP 70s actor, I mean, David Collins, is it Collins or Collins?
We're going Collins.
Collins fits the bill. Like, he just sounds like the Doctor would in the 70s.
Do you know what's weird? And I made a little note about this. He does, but this is him in like 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
And it's this thing of, in 2003, he fits the mould of a 70s Doctor perfectly.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether you would necessarily have seen him play the Doctor in the 70s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're assuming it's the 70s as well. It feels very 70s, this story. Yeah. The theme tune, like, it's got a remix theme tune, which is very 70s with like a hint of 80s underneath it. But it all feels like this is an alternative Pertwee, an alternative Tom Baker.
Yeah, I mean, it's the twist is that he's a prick. And it ends with him choking to death on his own TARDIS key.
Yeah.
Which, why not? And it's a bit like in superhero comics with things like Watchmen, new writers would come along and be like, well, what if they were actually just really messed up and dark and adult in that way? And it's kind of doing the same thing of just being, let's do a Doctor Who story, and at the last minute, all of the morality gets taken out of it, and the Doctor's just awful.
I do remember listening to it when it first came out and think, it probably wasn't even when it first came out, but like years later, and not knowing going in that the twist was he was a bad guy. And I think as soon as you know that, it kind of lessens the impact.
Yeah.
But it does this, like, in terms of the story structure, it does this jumping around. And the plot is very 70s Doctor Who again. Like, it's a mutating evil scientist thing under the sea. There's a sort of military character. It's very, very Pertwee. But then the sort of the style of the story, the way it's told, it's kind of very early noughties. It's kind of they've diced it up a little bit and tried to make it a bit more interesting in that respect. But there's lots of nice stuff in there. The idea that the Doctor has known Ruth's dad's fate, it's kind of really unique that he spent 27 years looking after and caring for. You genuinely believe he cares for her, and the reason he doesn't want her to go down with him to the deep again is that he knows he'll have to kill her. He doesn't want to kill her, but he fucking will, because he's Dr. Dick. It's the idea that Ruth thinks she knows the Doctor very well, and he turns out to be a baddie. I know that's the basic twist, but it's like this 27-year friendship that's all built on a lie.
Yes, so she's perfectly entitled to shoot him in the head at the end.
Yeah. Well, there's a guest cast, and obviously the most interesting member of the guest... I mean, it's all a guest cast, really, isn't it? But the most interesting member of that is Ian Brooker, who plays the Doctor when he regenerates at the end. And he didn't show up in The Timeless Children.
Oh. Was he in a band in the 60 Booker T and the... no, again. The best thing about it is that, bizarrely, the twist is that there's a regeneration at the end, and it feels like a regeneration. Like it sounds obvious, but to do a convincing regeneration, which is a visual thing, on an audio, is actually quite incredible. Like they put in this kind of choral score, and it feels really, really, really quite powerful, like a regeneration would.
Yeah. Which
is really that's really hard to do.
I think there'd maybe been one regeneration done on audio by Big Finish before then, but it was this thing that they do it quite a lot in like the Gallifrey series and stuff like that now. But the new series has given them like a sound effect for regeneration. So just like the Daleks didn't have a sound for movement, and then the new series came and gave them that, and all of a sudden Big Finish went, we can use this. So now, if you were doing it, the regeneration is more obvious.
Yeah. Because
you've got that, everybody knows what a regeneration sounds like, which is that sort of rushing sound. But back then, that didn't really exist.
Well, it's interesting because it made me think of the other significant kind of regeneration or death was the one that happened in Zagreus as well, where Charlie essentially stabs the Doctor.
Yeah.
And the sound designers make it sound like... It's really interesting that the stabbed Paul McGann says thank you to Charlie because he wanted to be released from this Zagreus energy. And they make it sound like his spirit is leaving his body with a sound effect on the way that the dialogue's done.
Right.
And it's just two examples of really, really, really good audio production. I know it's kind of taken for granted, but when you think of two scenes that are incredibly visual, that you don't think that you're referring to an audio adventure when you think of them.
Yeah.
There's something very visceral about them. But the actual story itself, it's kind of... You go down the route, it's a typical kind of 60s, 70s Doctor Who story, and everything goes wrong. You're kind of just left with more questions. So it's like, well, if this is an alternative evil Doctor, well, what kind of happened to make him this bad? Like, was it a specific incident, or there's so many more questions that you wanted to find out about.
Yeah, and you would like to. I mean, I think it's right that they didn't do any more, but you'd love to see like another story where you find out more about this Doctor. But then I think one thing that differentiates old Big Finish when Gary Russell was in charge and there wasn't a new series to now when there is a new series and it's very much, this is for the hardcore fans, is that Gary Russell knew when to go, that's it, it's a one-off, this is the story, take it. Whereas, there tends to be a bit more thing now of like, let's explore every facet and ruin any bit of mystery or suspense.
10 box sets.
And it's true, he would have 10 box sets. And actually, in the same range, you get the David Warner Doctor.
Yeah.
And that story's great. And that David Warner Doctor got a sequel, which was also great. And now, him and Bernie Summerfield are travelling the universe together.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he is really good. But also, it's a bit like, I think the reason it worked with that one is because he was just an alternative Doctor, and the what if there was, what if David Warner played the Doctor? Whereas here, it's a fundamental change to the core thing of the character, so it's good you've only got that one thing. And you do get sort of evil doctors show up, or the evil's not the right term, dickhead doctors show up in other things, like Colin Baker plays with an alternative doctor in Gallifrey that's a complete arsehole, although Colin Baker's doctor was a bit of an arsehole anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's very good that it's a singular play. David Collins as the Doctor, recently deceased. I mean, he's been in Doctor Who a lot. He was in Revenge of the Cybermen playing Vorus. He was also in The Robots of Death, where he played Poole, Chief Mover Poole. What does a chief mover do?
He doesn't sit still, that's for sure.
Then he was in Mordrin Undead, playing Mordrin, Spaghetti Head. And once again, he's mistaken as the Doctor, and that weird thing that they do where they just kind of go, oh, well, the Doctor's regenerated before. This time he must have turned into someone with his brain on show. And
Mom Spaghetti.
Mom Spaghetti.
Margarine Spaghetti.
He was also in Sapphire and Steel and the final episode of Blake 7. But he's got a long list of credits that go right up until a few years ago. And he was one of those people that was very active on TV and film for the whole of his career. And he is, again, someone that people often mooted as playing the Doctor. But until this happened, I'd never thought, oh yeah, David Collins would probably be the Doctor. It just never...
No, because he was either evil or hysterical.
Yeah.
And I don't mean those in a bad way, because he's a good actor.
Yeah.
The thing is, he sounds like BBC science fiction.
Yeah.
He's just got one of those people.
Yeah. I like his kind of ruthless, blunt nature, which is very Pertwee.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of Pertwee about it. And it is interesting, that scene where the Doctor shoots someone. It's shocking, but also it kind of fits for this version. You could almost imagine Pertwee doing it. But what I like is that this ruthless version of the Doctor isn't like the Master. It's very easy to go, oh, the evil version the bad version of the Doctor, this version of the Doctor is just the Master. But you can still see he's got morals, that moral streak of kind of wanting to do the right thing. He's just a bit more selfish, and he doesn't have the same like moral code when it comes to violence. So the Doctor and Ruth's relationship, again, is quite, up until the twist, again, it's quite Pertwee and Manning, third Doctor and Joe. But
John Pertwee and Bernard Manning.
John Pertwee and Bernard Manning, their great relationship as they flew through time and space, having a whale of a time. John Pertwee and Katie Manning, the third Doctor and Joe. It's very similar to that, but because it's written later, it feels like it's given slightly more depth, even in sort of, the first 30 minutes, which is when we think, oh, it's the Doctor and his companion. I quite like that. And what did you think of Ruth?
It's really hard to rate a companion based on one appearance, because I hated Clara in her first episode. I hated everything about her, and when she became a full-time companion, she became one of my favourite companions.
Yeah.
So I feel like I wasn't that sold on Ruth, but it's very rare that companions hit it off straight away.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a companion that did straight away. It's like, I want them in the TARDIS. It's typically, they introduce a new companion and it takes a bit of time.
Rose, but then she turned out to be a bit of a twat.
Yeah.
By the end of that episode, you're like, you're just going to ditch your boyfriend, and then she's horrible to her boyfriend for a series.
Yeah.
And then, her and the Doctor disappear up each other's arseholes for the series too.
Well, either they start great and get weaker, or the reverse, they're kind of a bit nondescript and then they become great.
What about Dodo? Okay, fair enough. She died of syphilis anyway. At least that's what they do to her in the New Adventures, right? Or is that a myth? Is that one of those fan myths that?
I mean, syphilis isn't a new adventure. It's quite an old historical disease.
In the books, Jack, didn't they kill her?
I didn't read that one.
Okay.
I don't know
Doctor Who and an exciting adventure with syphilis.
It was a time-travelling VD clinic run by the Master.
So Ruth is played by Ciri O'Neill, who has actually quite a lot of TV credits in the 90s, and she did 5 or 6 big Finnish plays, but she disappears in the early noughties, so maybe she went off to do something else. I liked her, but it's kind of like a generic performance in that it feels like she's trying to give a 70s performance again. Like the whole thing feels like they're definitely aiming for that 70s thing, so she's trying to play that 70s companion. And I think for the limited time we have her, she does that quite well, even though obviously we know very little about her.
She's too posh.
Too posh?
Yeah.
Everybody was posh in Doctor Who in the 70s.
I know, but this was 2003.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, we think it's set in the 70s, right?
It's odd. It's got underwater base. It's kind of, it feels like an alternative
Doctor Who on the underwater base.
Pertwee.
So the crew of this one, it was directed by Gary Russell. Ever heard of him?
He was in that TV show for kids about a carpet and a phoenix.
No, the Famous Five.
Oh.
And then he later went on. He was the guy that ran Big Finish sort of up until just after the new series started. And he's been a prominent name in fandom for years. And, you know, he does a fairly competent job of directing these things. I mean, Big Finish, I don't think you can ever really fault them on their direction. Like, the first few plays might suffer from some slightly, not dodgy sound design, but limited. But I never go, God, that was a badly directed Big Finish play. Like, they are kind of what they are. But it was written by David Bishop. Doctor Who-wise, he's written several Big Finish stories, a lot of the Sarah Jane ones. He wrote a couple of BBC Books things around this time, and for Virgin, he wrote Who Killed Kennedy, which was quite a controversial novel, which I know nothing about. He's written a lot of 2000 AD comics and Judge Dredd novels and Warhammer novels. So he's one of these people, like, that's Big Finish surround themselves with, I guess, that is... they're very big on tie-in media. It's like this little cottage industry. Well, it's probably not even a cottage industry, but it's this industry that kind of ties into all big franchises and does things that I guess is for the fans.
I remember liking his stuff on the Sarah Jane audios.
Yeah.
He solely wrote the last series of that.
I don't think I ever listened to more than one or two of them.
I really liked them, but they were, again, they weren't that far off this in that they were really kind of quite cold and trying to be gritty.
Yeah.
But they weren't. I remember them being interesting. He did things like he brought back the Mandragora Helix for a series and made a whole arc about that. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, he'd write things like he'd write Sarah Jane Smith going to Alaska and doing an episode there where she's blind for an episode. It was good.
And then obviously Russell T Davies heard those, and when Sarah Jane didn't do any of those things, she went and lived in an attic somewhere with a machine and hung around with a bunch of kids, saving the universe constantly from whatever cast-off Doctor Who monsters they still had the costumes lying around for.
I'll tell you what, I bought those the last series of Sarah Jane Big Finish adventures, the day that School Reunion was going to be broadcast.
Really?
And I went into Waterstones to buy the CDs. Compact discs. And I went up to the counter where there was a person operating a till.
What? You wouldn't get that now. Just someone chucking some chicken at you through a window.
And she looked at the CDs and went, oh, she's coming back on TV tonight. And for a second then, in Waterstones in Birmingham, I thought, everybody's in on this. Deep down. Because this was only series 2. It was like, everybody actually does like Doctor Who. Yeah,
it was that weird time where you'd walk into like Toys R Us and they'd have a huge Doctor Who display.
Yeah.
Or you just anywhere, Sainsbury's, everywhere. Everybody knew what Doctor Who was for about 4 years.
I remember I was chatting to a guy earlier this year and he was talking about how Doctor Who wasn't on at Christmas anymore. And he wasn't even a Doctor Who fan. It's just something that his family watched together. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so you guys are into it? Like, no, we just put it on at Christmas because it's always there, and so it was just shocking that like, so you watch it live on TV, but you're not like into it. But it's that thing. It's like EastEnders. Yeah. Everybody watches EastEnders at Christmas.
We watch it waiting for Doctor Who to come on. I am kind of glad there's no Doctor Who Christmas specials because
thank fuck. Yeah.
They are largely terrible, and. It's just this. We have this conversation all the time. It's just this thing of this is what no wonder people don't watch it anymore. If this is what everybody thinks Doctor Who's like. If people think it's like the adventures of Doctor fucking Mysterio and is it the Husbands of River Song?
Yes, yeah.
Then no wonder people don't watch. There have been good Christmas specials. Yeah. You know, Last Christmas was good. Christmas Carol, Voyage of the Damned was a thing that happened. The most watched. I think was that the most watched Doctor Who apart from Day of the Doctor, I think.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
It was.
It's that thing of it's the most exposure the show gets, and yet it's largely when it's at its weakest.
It's all, like Doctor Who is camp. We know this, but it's like at Christmas they go, we need to make this intolerably camp.
Yeah.
And so I'm just a bit. I much prefer a New Year's Day.
Yeah,
I think if you've got a Christmas story to tell, like if someone goes, well, we need to do the Celestial Toymaker and it would be a brilliant Christmas setting, then do it. But every year they'll go, right, we've got this story and we're just going to shoehorn Christmas in and everything we do. What if stuffing came alive and ate people? What if there was a shortage of turkeys that were and they replaced them with aliens? It's just like, and you get, especially with like the end of the Doctor's tenures, where it's like Matt Smith left and David Tennant left, and it's like both of those episodes suffer because they shoehorn Christmassy stuff in there because they're like, oh, we've got to make it light and frothy because it's Christmas, but also it's this really dark end of thing. You get all those fucking pensioners in The End of Time. And you're like, as much as June Whitfield's performance is great, it's like, this episode did not need that at all. So, Full Fathom 5, kind of gone on a bit of a tangent there. Anything else to say about it?
All I would say is it's very telling in your description of it at the start. You said, this is about what if the ends justified the means. And that isn't the synopsis, that's actually a spoiler.
Mm.
And it's pointed out because when the theme of the story does crop up, you know this because about 500 singing and dancing parade people come in with the theme on placards saying, this is about the ends not justifying the means. And there's a lot of telling and not showing in that regard. And it's just that the theme was obvious from the start and everything's kind of built around it.
Yeah.
So it's really good as a one-off, good shock value that we've destroyed for anybody that might listen to it. Mm. But it's, I guess, anybody that's listening to this that has listened to Full Fathom 5, it's just interesting to look back at what surrounds it and what the tone was at the time.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of out of the blue. And also were there that many Dark Doctor stories?
Not really. I suppose Zagreus is probably the nearest one you get at that point.
Yeah.
And the invasion of time where the Doctor seems to have gone bad. Like, it happens very rarely. And I think this was probably a lot more shocking at the time than it appears now.
Yes, yeah, but also, like mentioning the McGann range, the cliffhanger of the Doctor essentially seeming to die and being possessed by this kind of alien force. They left that cliffhanger for over a year. It was like a year and a half.
It was, yeah.
And that was really traumatic because that was current Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised that the showrunners mainly pull out. They back down from ending on a cliffhanger for every new series.
Yeah.
Ends on a clean slate. Pretty much. Has there ever been a cliffhanger to end a series?
The most recent one.
No, but those that's like light.
I suppose they're like hooks to get you in for the next thing. But in terms of like,
yeah, no one thinks the Jadoon are going to kill the Doctor.
Yeah, and nobody thinks they're going to be the main enemy for the rest of the series. It's not like a.
Yeah.
I guess the nearest you've got is the mid-season break from A Good Man Goes to War to Let's Kill Hitler.
But even then, they backed out of that. As in, the cliffhanger is the companion has her baby stolen, and at last minute, it's actually the baby's fine. She's grown up as a fully grown adult woman.
So you'll be fine. There'll be no emotional trauma there.
Yeah, I actually quite like the idea of the Jadoon being the big bad. I think it'd be good. Be like they're back and hornier than ever.
I'm sold on it. Let's get. I mean, who knows with Chris Chibnall? Anything goes now. So, in review, would you say that Full Fathom 5 is fan wank or damn swank?
It's nothing if not interesting, so I'll say damn swank.
I too am going for damn swank. So that was Full Fathom 5, written by David Bishop, directed by Gary Russell, and it's available from Big Finish. If you go on their website, I'm sure you'll find it. And because it's an early release, I imagine it's about £3 now or something like that, but I think it's well worth checking out.
Too hot for TV.
So we've got a short story from Decalogue 3 Consequences called continuity errors. Written by a man called Steven Moffat, who nobody had really heard of at that point. He was just a guy who'd written Press Gang. Now, for those that don't know, Decalogues came from Virgin, who did the New Adventures, and they were collections of short stories. I think they were quite often interlinked. I don't think I'd ever really read any of them. This came out in July 1996, which was 2 months after the TV movie had been broadcast, and fandom was anxious again about the future of the show, as the TV movie had done well in the UK but not in the US. So I think a lot of people felt like the show was over again. John Pertwee had recently passed away, so there was a sort of dour mood in fandom there. The BBC video range had been put on hold in light of a rebrand had the TV series been a success, but instead they'd have to wait for the autumn and the release of The Green Death to relaunch the range with new covers and logos, much to the annoyance of fans who like the spines to all line up. But never fear, for the 400th time, Dalek's Invasion of Earth 2150 AD was now out on video again in widescreen. Do you remember when widescreen was a thing?
Yeah, they'd cut off half of the picture to put some black bars on it.
Do you remember Shakedown, Return of the Sontarans?
Yes.
That is presented in widescreen, but it wasn't shot in widescreen. They literally filmed everything wider and put gaffer tape on the on the monitor so they could add the black bars to make it look like it was widescreen. Also out on video, BBV had just released Bidding Adieu, which is that weird thing where it follows Sylvester McCoy to
Canada.
To Vancouver to record his bits for the TV movie, but obviously they can't get anywhere near the set.
Yeah, he has a hot chocolate.
He
talks to Native Americans. It's lovely.
Do you know who's filming that?
You?
No, yes, it was me. Mark Gatiss.
Ah.
Mark Gatiss was sent along there with a camcorder from Bill Baggs to do that. There's loads of footage apparently that was never released of that. I'm really surprised that somebody from the BBC hasn't dug it up and turned it into a 4-hour DVD extra or something. Virgin were releasing The Scales of Injustice, a Third Doctor and Liz and Silurian story, and A Christmas on a Rational Planet. Know anything about those?
A Christmas on a Rational Planet is Lawrence Miles's first new adventure.
I feel like it is, yeah.
And it introduces faction paradox.
Is it?
Never read it.
Oh.
I think I read the first few pages and then gave up.
Have you read many of the Virgin books?
Yes. Yeah, I read quite a lot. I'd happily read a lot more. You know, I'll be perfectly honest, there was a summer, I think, in between secondary school and college where I did nothing but read Virgin New Adventures.
Nothing?
Yeah, no, that was it.
Wow. What a loser.
And it was, I'm sure I went out and did other stuff, but it was great.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest that the current COVID lockdown, whilst it's sunny, reminds me of that summer where I can just read books and it's really like, oh, the good times are back.
when I was I tried to read them a couple at the time when they came out, but I was about 12 and they were just a bit too wordy for me. And then when I got my first kind of job-ish after leaving uni, I had something like a 2-hour commute there and back. And I just used to sit on the tube and read New Adventures all the way there, listening to Block Party. So I, too, had a summer of freelancing at a shopping channel, just reading New Adventures. And there are some absolute corkers. There's also a lot of shit.
Yeah, but they're really good to read as a teenager, because that's kind of the target audience. And it has a similar thing of it's trying to be a bit self-consciously edgy. So Andrew Cartmell's New Adventure books are great if you're like 16.
Yeah.
I don't know how they stand up now, but at the time it's like, this is incredible.
Yeah, because you think it's the sort of adult reading that actually isn't very adult. You know what I mean? It's a bit like Torchwood. Yeah, well, but they're not Torchwood, because Torchwood's far worse. I
don't want to ruin it. That's the thing. I don't want to go back and reread them because
we're going to reread one at some point for this podcast. Okay. But I'm not going to make you do the whole range. Anyway, continuity errors. So, quick rundown of the plot. The Doctor, the Seventh Doctor, along with Benny, tries to gain access to a book from the largest library in the universe, but is refused by the librarian. The Doctor flies off to run an errand and leaves Benny behind. Through the internal narrative of the librarian and Benny's observations, we notice slowly but surely the librarian's attitude, mannerisms, and indeed tragic life story begin to change to make her a more pleasant person. The Doctor has been manipulating the past of the librarian to make her more amenable and to make her trust the Doctor. This line of manipulation seems to fail right until the last moment. The story's intercut with a lecturer preparing to do an expose on the Doctor. At the very last moment, the lecture is cancelled and the Doctor takes his place to give a lecture on the importance of lending library books to people, with the young librarian sat in the audience. The Doctor finally gets the book he requires to avert a major catastrophe. So how did you find this first outing for Steven Moffat?
Well, it is great, and it is a reminder of everything that he's good at. And it makes me want to read more of him in prose.
Yeah. But that doesn't exist really, does it?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if in his retirement he's like, yeah, I'm just going to novelise every story that I've done or come up with something new.
He did Day of the Doctor, which is, I didn't read it, but I listened to the audiobook, and it's a genuinely really well done book.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I think it improves on Day of the Doctor in a way that it's kind of like he's had more time to think about it because he hasn't got the pressure of the deadline of the looming 50th anniversary. And it's kind of the anniversary special he could do if he had all the money in the world.
Yeah.
But I think this is like, it's bursting with the charm and humour of Steven Moffat's Doctor Who, and it is laugh out loud funny in places, which it's kind of makes you miss.
Yeah.
Miss Steven Moffat a bit. Like, he certainly brought his own identity and his own own sort of signature to Doctor Who, which I think, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but you do miss it in the current series. At least I do.
Yeah, I can't name any specific gags or jokes from the last series.
No,
which is
apart from Snap.
Snap.
In the first episode where the Doctor's at the Canon thing goes, hit me, Snap. That was kind of like the first real laugh out loud moment that I think Jodie Whittaker's Doctor got me with.
I did like Lenny Henry saying all of humanity's about to be upgraded. Luckily there's an app for that. I thought that was pretty damn good. Yeah. Can we play a game?
Yes.
Which is, how many elements from this short story end up in the new series?
Well, I mean, I think this is almost Steven Moffat's entire tenure in terms of tropes at the very least, in just one short... In like 10 pages, you basically get the entire Moffat era, which is really interesting, right down to the lecturers. It's happening on the Lunar University.
I was just about to say that. Damn!
The Lunar University, which Riversong goes to.
Yeah.
So I like to think she was about to, be at that lecture before we'd even thought of her. I actually think the lecturer parts are really interesting because they kind of challenge the nature of how you accept the Doctor, and it does. It's this thing that he says, the idea that the Doctor manipulates everything is brilliant. And they question, does he actually look like us? Does he dress like us? His persuasive nature and the fact everyone, despite all this manic stuff that he does, says he's a hero. And the lecturer kind of goes, well, if he can get inside your brain and make you understand alien language, how else is he manipulating you? And I think that fits quite well with the Sylvester McCoy, or the Seventh Doctor, the great manipulator sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing in the lecturer scenes is when he says it's akin to a weird cult, this man luring lots of young women to travel with him. That made me laugh, because it's done as a joke, but it's from the outside, it's like, it's not far off.
And he mentions various different companions, and he says, how do Peri's parents explain her disappearance? She's off married to a warlord called Yukanos. They don't even know that. She's just disappeared. How do you possibly explain that? Which I think, if Moffat does nothing else during his time as showrunner, he does constantly go back to this thing of questioning the Doctor and what it actually means to be the Doctor and who is the Doctor and why is he a certain way. And I think you really start to see him pick at that in this first little short story.
Yeah.
What did you think of his characterisation of the Seventh Doctor and Benny?
They were good. I think what's interesting about the Seventh Doctor is that there's so much prose written about him that I think of the Seventh Doctor more as a character in from the books than I do him on TV.
Yeah.
And him and the Seventh Doctor and the Eighth Doctor both have the same quality, that there's been so many stories written about them that their characters are bigger than the actors that play them.
Absolutely.
In that the Fourth Doctor is Tom Baker, and it's incredibly hard to capture him in probably just written on the page, because he's just so embodied by that. Whereas there's something also for an actor like Paul McGann, he's like a chameleon. He's very hard to describe what the Eighth Doctor's like. He's very good he can be adapted for any story.
Yeah.
And the Seventh Doctor, in prose like this and the New Adventures, they turn him into something a bit bigger than that.
Yeah.
Kind of the more subdued Seventh Doctor from the final season 24. 26. That is the template for the New Adventures.
Yeah.
This is interesting. There's a couple of passages where he's described as being appearing to be more godlike than he is, and that's interesting. It doesn't appeal to me as much, but it comes off well. And also, Benny, much better than Riversong.
Yeah, because she's not so much of a cunt.
Who do you want to have a drink with, Benny or Riversong?
Benny, because Riversong will fuck you then murder you.
But also, Benny is really chilled and just wants to relax and have a good
She's so
time.
likeable.
Riversong is like that annoying friend that has to turn everything into a punchline or a come on. She would be so annoying to hang out with. And it's so disappointed that she turned into the love of the Doctor's life in a weird sort of way.
How much of Benny is on the page and how much of it is Lisa Bowerman later in Big Finish?
I read much more of Benny before I actually heard her. And she is very... They just go into so much detail into her as a person. I'm talking about Benny as a character.
Yeah.
That she just becomes a lot more chilled out. And the benefit of the books is that the main quality, the Eighth Doctor Adventures and the Virgin New Adventures and anthologies like this have, is that they really go into the lives of the characters and what it's like to live on aboard the TARDIS. Because of the pace of prose and reading and writing means that there can't be monsters and explosions on every page. So they read a lot more like these kind of weird travel diaries of the characters.
And because you get first-person narrative, you get inside the characters' heads in a way that you just don't. You can't do that on TV.
Yeah.
You can do it occasionally, but it's not really about having thought bubbles. You know what I mean?
And that was the thing about Riversong, is that you still actually don't know much about her as a person.
No.
And the episode, I liked her debut in Silence at the Library.
Yeah, it's great.
And then beyond that, she's only really appealing when she's a bit vulnerable. The Angels Take Manhattan, I really liked her character in that because you saw different sides to it. But beyond that, it's like everything is a grand gesture.
Yeah.
And for such an important character that's had arcs devoted to her and episodes named after her, it's like how come we know more about Rose and Clara than we do River, when River's given so much attention? I
mean, River is a lot of kind of plot points in a way. She's kind of like a siphon for, I'm going to deliver this bit of information and this bit of information.
Yeah.
And also she seems more exciting because they meet out of order, which is a really good idea. But it's never, I think, her sassiness and kind of bolshiness. It's almost like you forget that actually there isn't that much of a kind of substance to her because she's so there and in your face. All of a sudden everybody's like, oh, what a great character Riversong is. And, she is funny and, she's that typical Moffat thing of kind of, she's a very overly sexualised woman, which a lot of his women characters are. But yeah, I think on Benny all the way.
Yeah, Benny's great. Well, I mean, for continuity errors, the two main elements from Moffat's time that it combines is definitely Silence in the Library, because it's set in a giant library, and A Christmas Carol. It's both, if anything, A Christmas Carol more than anything.
Don't know whether you know this, but Steven Moffat might have borrowed the basic premise of A Christmas Carol from another literary source.
Oh, was it Carol?
Yes.
I've always thought why has no one ever written something called A Christmas Carol with a lead character called Karen. I mean, it's fucking crying out.
It sounds like a Christmas special that The Walking Dead need to do.
But it is interesting because when I was still like going on Doctor Who forums after episodes aired, yeah, I'm not proud of it. They were saying about A Christmas Carol, it's totally immoral and wrong that the Doctor should do that to a character to change their life like this. And it's the same thing here. Is that it's odd. He rewrites the main character's life and saves her child and her marriage to make her a happier person. Yeah. With the intention that she might be more cooperative to hand over this book to him.
What a cunt!
Well, that's the thing. But also the main what's interesting is the woman is aware that her timeline's been changed, and she says that's too powerful for anybody to have. So I'm still not going to give you the book. Yeah. And then it ends on the punchline that he goes back even further and gives her younger self a lecture on the importance of giving library books. So you never know if he does convince her. Yeah. So it's there's a lot in there.
And we see this again and again, because it's like in the pilot where the Doctor goes, to a lesser extent, goes back and gets a picture of Bill's mom and leaves it for Bill. Yeah. And Amy Pond's whole story, especially when he jumps back and takes young Amelia in that last story, and then like also him retconning Mel's story into his own narrative. It kind of ceases to become something he does to the characters. He does it to his own kind of canon in a way by the end of it. He just loves just like manipulating timelines sort of on and off screen. So, I mean, like we said, it's all there. He's been doing this for years.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's a philosophical point. It's that how much of a person is what they've experienced, and is it almost an act of murder to change someone's timeline like that so that they become a completely different person? And this is what's interesting about what Chris Chibnall has done in the episode The Timeless Children as well, is that if the Doctor is this seemingly immortal person that has been every gender and every race, then that opens a much bigger philosophical question for the show. Yeah. Which is interesting because like is the Doctor the ultimate moral authority in the form of a humanoid? He has lived every life in that sense. Yeah.
Or she.
They Doctor.
They Doctor.
It opens up loads of interesting ideas that's kind of new territory for the show. In a way that isn't just... It's not... It's like the New Adventures introduce the idea that, the Doctor was actually this older Time Lord called the Other. Yeah. Which actually... You get what they're trying to do, but it's not actually interesting. Mm-hmm. You're just like, before he was the Doctor, he was someone else with a different mysterious name.
But also, this is all canon again now, thanks to The Timeless Children. If you want the Doctor to be the Other, like, they 100% can be. But I think people like, especially with the Seventh Doctor, like you say, the Seventh and Eighth Doctor, there's such a vast sort of canon for them, and an array of different versions of them. And I think, they set the tone with the Seventh Doctor in the TV series, and it's definitely there, and there's definitely a through line through the New Adventures, through to the audio plays of what the Seventh Doctor's like. But you're right, it's very much more built up because it's written by fans of what people really wanted the Seventh Doctor to be like. And the Seventh Doctor and Ace are brilliant on screen, but they're kind of superseded, I think, in some people's minds by this whole Doctor that kind of came afterwards that was in prose and on audio. And I think it's this thing of they walk off into that sunset in Survival. There's so much time off screen that it feels natural that all those adventures could happen. It's the same with McGann. He's on screen in 1996, and then you see him again in 2013. So it feels natural. Whereas when you get Peter Davison, I said this on the last podcast, but when you get Peter Davison with his new companion facing the Cybermen in another story, and you're like, Peter Davison had 5,000 other stories, it feels more forced, whereas McGann and McCoy feel like the Infinity Doctors a little bit. They had huge adventures for a long, long time.
And also, the characters can get older.
Yeah.
Because Sylvester McCoy is older in the TV movie.
Yeah.
Paul McGann is older by the time of Night of the Doctor.
Yeah, so they look like they've lived a long time.
Whereas listening to Peter Davison sounded like he's smoked a lot.
Which he has.
Yeah, it does. Even though he's still a good actor, it never wholly convinces. What's distinctive about this is that it's a short story, and it's intercutting between two different scenes, so it lends itself to a lot of punchlines and jokes.
Yeah.
Because he's primarily a comedic writer at the time, Steven Moffat. And it strikes me as that the biggest tonal change was that Big Finish and the books, they had much longer lengths, and tonally things became a lot more spread out. So again, the books are set over the span of like years and years, and it's about these characters travelling, so they've got a much more pedestrian pace.
Mm-hmm.
Big Finish as well. Because of audio, there's not that much jumps and scares every other minute. The pace of everything slows down quite a bit. It's hard to remember what a jump it was to then come back to the TV show with Rose, and it to be like it's 45 minutes and there's going to be a lot of jokes and chases and stuff. Like for a fan that's followed the show, how jarring that was to suddenly be like, this is an entertainment show, and it's going to work in this time.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting because then over the course of the new series, it then brought back all of these elements that have been explored in the other formats.
But it does, Rose, although it's like sort of 15 years later, does feel a little bit like it's picking up from where Survival left off. In that tonally they're quite similar, and in terms of sort of the setting and things like that. And it's almost like you say, as if those intermittent years of all this canon shattering and like wild adventures, like doing the sort of sci-fi that Doctor Who couldn't afford to do on the screen, but also because it was a family show, was never going to do like that sort of sci-fi. So,
well, in the Doctor Who world, you go down one sunny suburban street and there's a black cat chasing a guy washing his car, and you go down the other, and then there's Mickey being chased by a wheelie bin.
Yeah,
I mean, it is like that's where it is,
But there we go.
Bring it back to books. What was wrong when it was just purely 300-page long novels?
I mean, I personally, the definitive era of Doctor Who for me is those little 8th Doctor Radio Times cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember them?
Yes, yeah. Wasn't there an Ice Warrior as a companion?
Yeah, there was. So, I mean, anything else you want to say about... We've meandered quite a lot.
Yes.
But anything you want to say about continuity errors?
Well, it reminded me of everything that I like about Steven Moffat's writing.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the current Doctor Who that's going out on TV will always be the most kind of lampooned, because it's kind of like, this is what it is now. And if it fucks up now, we're through.
And it's always in the public eye.
Yeah, yeah. And so the thing is that Doctor Who is always better, kind of in hindsight. Give it a bit of time and it's fine. So the thing is, all of the things that I used to get so frustrated with Steven Moffat about are in the story.
Yeah.
But that was just because, it's just over familiarity, because he was the showrunner.
Yeah.
Making so much material. And whereas now, he's not the main guy, and you can go back and be like, actually, this is pretty good. Like, I went back, like, this story was great. And also, it was so interesting to see how much was already in his mind before he even wrote for Russell T Davies.
Yeah. I think it's this thing of Doctor Who fans are so paranoid about the show getting cancelled that they want every bit of broadcast Doctor Who to be perfect and the best thing in the world. But actually, like you say, in hindsight, it doesn't really matter. Like Trial of a Time Lord, which everybody hated when it came out, when that was released on DVD recently, everybody was celebrating it like it was the greatest thing to ever happen to the show. And new fans, especially, seeing it for the first time, were like, this is amazing, because it's 30 years later. And ultimately, the release of this DVD isn't going to get the show cancelled all of a sudden. And it's not the definitive point in Doctor Who. And you look back at the Moffat era now and go, oh, God, that was really good, wasn't it? Look how good that bit was and that bit was. But the same people who are going Moffat must go are now going Chibnall's ruined it, he must go. Like, the people that hate Doctor Who most are a very vocal minority of fans who will never be happy until it's off air and it's theirs again, because it's a book that's written by a fan that explains, you know, how the web planet was manipulated by the Master to produce the ultimate enemy.
I've only got one more thing to say about this story.
Yeah.
And that's the cover, because I like covers.
Okay.
Decalogue 5?
3.
3?
Yeah.
It looks like an erotic novel. So the cover is a red velvet sheet with a necklace draped on top of it, but the necklace has K9 on it.
I am pulling this up now.
Whichever artist painted the cover, definitely someone that has done similar illustrations for, I don't know, whether, maybe not Mills and Boon, maybe a bit saucier, but I do know that I think Version Books did have an imprint that was mainly erotic novels, and Mark Gatiss wrote some of them under a pen name.
I think Gareth Roberts did as well.
Yes.
I think they kind of siphoned some of the good writers off and went, could you write an erotic novel? But you're right, it does look like some sort of erotic novel. So the only question left to ask, is it fan wank or damn swank?
It can never be fan wank, because it is the Bible on which the new series is based. So it's damn swank.
Damn swank. That's 2 damn swanks from us for this episode. So we'll record another episode soon, because we're not going anywhere, are we? So you wanted to do a Bernice audio. What's that called?
It's called The End of the World.
The End of the World. I don't think I've ever heard this, so this will be exciting. I'm going to pick something, and we're going to do a video.
Okay.
And we're going to do Auton. Auton from BBV. 50 minutes of Auton action.
Mm.
So we were Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV. This was episode 2. We'll try not to leave it so long till the next one, but who the fuck knows what's going to happen in the world. If you want to find us on Twitter, we don't have a Twitter page, but you can get me on @DylanDoesFilms, because I do films as my job, but actually on Twitter I talk about nothing but Doctor Who, which is only fair. So if you want to keep up with us, that's where we are. Anything that you want to say before we go?
I'm not on Twitter. I'm mainly in your head.
So yeah, that was it. Doctor Who, Too Hot for TV, episode 2. We're back, we're on a roll. Thank you very much for listening. And if you've got any comments or anything like that, anything you want to say to us, at me.
Too hot for TV.
I could so see Jeremy Corbyn trying to promote Stolman's gas as an alternative source of energy.
Yeah, I think I could see that as well.
But he's gone now.
Or he was be living in the Nuthatch with those folk from the Green Death eating fungus.
He's gone. He's left Parliament to focus on politics, which is probably working at the Nuthatch.